Thank you all so much for joining for a maybe slightly different session. Let's see. I started putting that in front of all of my recent presentations. This is your session. Whatever works for you works for me. So if you feel like it is easier to consume that content while you're standing somewhere, or if you have your laptop open, or if you're listening to music on one ear, whatever works best for you, do that. I promise it will not distract me. I will not hold it against you. I've very recently learned that point from Lisa Hoving, an MVP from the Netherlands, who is very open about her ADHD and autism. And it is one of these things. We all know that we learn and consume content in different ways, but it's one of the things that I think it might make sense to just point out in a slightly clearer way. So if it, whatever helps you, go for it. Very quick words about me because we only got like 20 minutes time. I'm Ben. I'm from Nuremberg, Germany, mostly focusing on data warehousing, BI, and of course, big data clusters. We're not going to talk about everything on that slide except for two things. Jess Pomfret and I, we're running a podcast called Finding Data Friends, and all of you are invited to join us. If you want to join us, just come find me after the session. Give me your name and your email address. We're going to put you on the list. We're doing 15 minutes episode, one a week, where we're just introducing members from the data community. And the other thing I want to point out is New Stars of Data, a conference that I'm running with William Durkin, where we're trying to encourage and nurture new people to become speakers in the data community. So you're like, oh, at some point I wanted to stand on that stage, but I never really know how to get started. Please come also see me afterwards and we can have a chat. AI is just amazing, right? I mean, all that AI stuff that we've seen coming up over. I mean, it's always been around, but I feel like it's getting kind of over present over the past, I'm going to say 12, 18 months. I mean, who doesn't love AI? I guess all of you are kind of excited about all these co-pilots and ChatGPTs and I mean, all the good things we can do with AI. Fraud detection, translations, so many amazing stuff, right? Right? Thank you. But I'm just mimicking that slide. There's all the other things that we can do with AI, willingly or unwillingly, copyright infringement or privacy issues. We're going to talk about that in a second, Hugo, because I took a picture. Well, technically, you took a picture of you. And now I can see, well, oh, this is just another old man shouting at the cloud and kind of being like, we don't want any new things. I'm still very happy with Enterprise Manager. I don't need any new tools and all that. Or some consultant like, well, if all of these co-pilots come around, I'm not going to build any Power BI reports for anybody. All this AI is going to make me out of a job. Spoiler alert, it won't. But there's some crazy things happening in AI. Just like 5 minutes ago, I asked my friend Hugo if I could take a picture of him. And I did not ask him what it's for. Let's see how that works. Let me show you a website. For whichever reason it is showing in German to me. It is a website called facecheck.id. And all I'm doing here is I'm uploading the picture that I just took of Hugo. It zooms in on his face very well. Yeah, sure. I don't care about the fine print. Who does? The AI is making sure I'm not an AI, so I'm on number one in the queue. Let's see what's going to happen. This is obviously not a pre-recorded demo. If you pre-record it, you're always safe that it's going to work, because if not, you're just going to upload another picture. Almost there, come on. You got this, AI. Huh, and the first match, we get Hugo's Instagram. And I could click there and figure out more about who he is, figure out his name, potentially find his GitHub, his LinkedIn account, and all of that. That's not scary at all. And I'm pretty sure Hugo consented to all of this. Right, Hugo? Moving on. Yeah, I got a new number. Let me give it to you at some point. That is an issue. Because what about if I had just taken a picture? I want to know who that person is. I just sneakily taking a picture without you even knowing, and then I'm going to figure all that out after. This is kind of a fun exercise, and especially for someone who's a public speaker, especially at an event like this, people kind of know who. I mean, he's wearing a name badge, so it's quite easy to figure out who he is. You see where I'm going with this. That's one of the many issues we have in AI. There's more issues in AI. What we see on this picture. Let's start with genders. Any assumptions? I'm just trying to make you assume genders. Horrible thing to do. For the sake of this exercise, we have a man and a woman. He's in childcare. She's a professor. And let's use some AI. And we will just put that into Google Translate. And what we will then do is we will translate it, and we will translate it into Armenian. Armenian is a language that does not use pronouns and genders in the same way most other languages do, as in they do not differ. The language doesn't care if you're a man or a woman. Pretty cool thing about Google Translate, you can reverse it. Ah, she's a childcare worker, he's a professor. Hang on. Wasn't it the other way around? No, you can say, well, how could the very smart people at Google know what it was? They could have just used they, or used a he/her or whatever. I do understand that they don't know. But there's a bias in here, very clear gender bias. What do we see here? Roman numbers. Who is that? Don't say the queen, well, because I'm going for something with the previous slide. The second. So that's Malcolm the 10th, right? Because that is what pretty much all the navigation systems when they came out were saying. Turn right on Malcolm 10th Boulevard. There's more bias in there. Because I'm going to make the bold statement, if there had been, and since all of those have been developed in the US, if there had been a person of color in there, they would have come up with that exception pretty much immediately. We don't. And if we think about how great AI is, it's made out of two things, people and data. And people have some flaws. People are biased, as is Google Translate apparently. We're biased towards gender. We're biased towards age. We're biased towards attractiveness. We tend to buy stuff from people that are better looking. So if you're going to buy a new car, chances are that you're going to buy it from that person that is wearing a nice suit or a nice dress rather than from someone who's just wearing some shabby jeans. Because if there's a person just wearing shabby jeans, what do they know about selling like fine sports cars, right? So doesn't make any sense, but this is how we work. Attribution, the halo and the horn effect, which means we tend to believe in stuff that our friends like, we tend to not believe in stuff that our enemies like, because if they like it, I cannot like it. Bias is everywhere. Let me tell you a little story. It's a very triggering story, but let me start with the boys, okay? Gonna see where I'm going with this. So there was a dad and his son, and they got into a little car accident. And paramedics arrived on the scene. They were like, yeah, we need to get the boy checked out, but the dad had to stay on scene. And when the boy gets to the hospital, the doctor's like, oh, I cannot treat that kid. That's my son. How is that possible? Didn't we just say the dad stayed on scene? Of course, it's a patchwork family. How nice is that? I mean, the new dad treats him like it's perfect. Or the dad was rushing to the hospital, even beat the emergency car and all that. It's a same-sex couple. Or, how about, this is our doctor. And who of y'all, you don't have to raise your hands, was thinking when we were talking about a doctor of the most obvious of all solutions, that the doctor was just the kid's mom. And usually if I do that thing with show of hands, many people have to admit they were not. And all of those are the reasons why we need rules in AI, because as funny as it may be, like, let me take a quick picture of you, we're going to do a little fun demo. That is disturbing. Because it can be used for things that are not just a fun demo. That is why we need that transparency, all that inclusion, the diversity, accountability, privacy, safety, and fairness, all of these people, because we need to make all of these things, we need to make sure that what we're doing with AI becomes explainable, because without trust, there is no point in AI. It's not going to create anything. I totally believe that there's so much things in AI that will help us make things easier and better. And at the same time, we kind of need to make sure that all of us, doesn't matter if you're an AI developer or just a consumer, that we're kind of driving this to the right direction. Just think of all the cool AI applications that we have today. Deepfakes. If I had had a little more time, I would have taken a video of Hugo. And from learning from Hugo's facial expression, how he looks, and from his voice, I could have then created a new video where Hugo is telling you basically everything I'm telling you today. But it would have been me telling you that story, but looking like Hugo, using Hugo's voice. Not disturbing at all, again, right? Who gets to decide who our Alexa listens to? Because I sometimes get disturbingly enough ads on pretty much everywhere and stuff that we were just nonchalantly talking about at dinner. Facial recognition, the thing that we just saw. Did Hugo ever agree for his, I think it was your Instagram profile, for that picture to be used for a reverse search? And it was not an exact expert algorithm that I was using there. I was going to a website and uploaded a picture. I just took it, didn't do anything with that picture. So if I can do it, everybody can do it. That is what you think. In preparation of today's session, I created an Instagram account for you. Password is cardinality estimator 123 exclamation mark. You may want to change that password now. Hiring processes. Amazon at some point started to integrate AI into their hiring process, especially for tech roles. And what happened is, because of the very biased training data, because let's face it, most people in tech look more like me, that hiring algorithm enforced that bias and only recommended white men for all these roles. That makes perfect sense, because most of the people they're employing right now are white men. They're doing a decent enough job. We should stick to that. I mean, never change a running system, right? Social media, up to this day, depending on, not so much on LinkedIn, but on many of the other channels, it really helps you to get scored up if you're showing a little more skin. That is giving very strange motivations to some people out there. Again, I'm not going to say out loud what I'm thinking right now, Hugo. That's a conversation for later today. And I think you saw where I'm going with this. Speaking of social media, the amount of fake accounts of social media, there's an unbelievable amount of accounts of people that don't even exist because they're 100% AI generated. There's one, I think her name is Stella. I forgot about it. We talked about it at the past. She has hundreds of thousands of followers from all her travel pictures where she's posting pictures in bikinis. So I'm like, yeah, but she's not real. And none of these hundreds of thousands of followers even seem to realize that, except maybe for some very few people. Something is wrong with that. So what does that mean for you? What does that mean for your organization? Because obviously this session in the end is not only about, well, what can we do about our smart speakers? Because the answer is nothing, except not for potentially not having smart speakers. And the question is also not about, should we keep searching for Hugo's Instagram profile, because now I'm really intrigued what's behind that. If we get back to our people and data thingy, you have your processes and your models, that's your data, and you have your stakeholders. First thing that you need to make sure in AI, because I see so many organizations right now across my customers, across partners, across vendors that, yeah, we're going to try that AI thing for a little bit. And then they just try something. But there is never clear ownership. You need to have clear ownership. Without ownership, there's not going to be any accountability. There's a couple of things on the outside. The law. The European Union is just about to pass a law, and that is basically going to restrict a lot of usage of AI. Just because there's a law doesn't mean people will adhere to it, but for the sake of that exercise, we will just, what is governed by the law, that's a given. Ethics are harder to determine what's right and what's wrong, just for the reason that it's very more subjective, because when it comes to ethical standards, there's some very obvious stuff, but there's also some less obvious stuff. So whatever you're doing around AI, make sure that what you're doing is audited in some way by external and internal people, for example. Ideally, you may even definitely do document it, depending on what you're doing, maybe even open source what you're doing. Creating that explainability, that transparency. Make sure you don't make the Malcolm 10th mistake by bringing in diverse stakeholders, by bringing in diverse auditors. And again, that accountability and responsibility is coming from clear ownership. So we're just trying out some AI that may work if you're just, I'm going to take a look at that Copilot thingy. But if you're seriously evaluating AI for your organization, that is something you need to keep in mind. Because AI is also making super fast progress to good and bad ends. So at the last PaaS Summit, Melody Zacharias and I, we got to do a keynote. And we were using AI. And for those of you that know me, I tend to wear some weird suits when I'm doing some of my appearances on stages. So we were asking ChatGPT or DALL-E back then, please generate us a picture of Melody in a blue dress and me in a pink suit, because that's what we were wearing. That is what we got. Actually, we got 50 different prompts, and none of them was able to put me in a pink suit. Because the training data was like, yeah, men don't do that. We don't do pink suits. Let's switch that around. The AI was so confident that it switched around the prompt, basically. 1 week after, I was so glad that it happened 1 week after PaaS Summit, because otherwise it would really have blown my demo. They updated the model with a new DALL-E. So it was passing it the same prompt. The first was like, I don't even know who Melody and Ben are. You got to be more specific. I'm not going to give you anything. That's perfect, because it doesn't make assumptions on who we are. Like, sure. Blonde woman, bald man, keynote, tech conference, blue dress, pink suit. Cool. That worked. Not exactly how we looked that day, not exactly how we look in general, but given my prompt, I would say that is quite good. Much better than what we've had before, at least. Well, unless you're Melody, but also, are you saying that this is a fair description of what I look like? Because if yes, thank you.
That is exactly what happened.
However, it's still not perfect. And I was having that discussion with my friend Alexander Arvidsson, because he was trying to generate an AI-generated picture, and it was like it cannot do a certain thing. So I was like, of course, can AI generate you a clean-shaven man picture? Why not? Like, well, okay, we can argue it's not so great on the projector. It's not exactly clean-shaven, but well enough. However, what Alexander was actually trying to do is create a very specific scene, because he wanted a man with a sword on a luggage belt at an airport wearing a Manowar t-shirt. He's wearing glasses, also very important. The interesting part is usually AI gets text wrong entirely and completely up to a level where, like, how can it be so hard? But it gets the Manowar logo pretty much spot on. So, okay, it has some very dedicated Manowar training data. And for some reason, most of these people seem to be bearded people, as we can also see in the training data. Okay, I was getting more precise. No beard at all. I was shouting at it. No beard, no facial hair. By the way, also, if you look closely, there's an old picture of Hugo in the background. Okay. And I mean, that is obviously not what I asked for. So you could just say, well, okay, the intern did not understand the assignment. It's not just a bias issue, because AI is getting less and less honest about its confidence. Over the pandemic, some friends and us, we started playing online escape games, because we figured, well, lockdown, we can see each other. We used to do proper escape games and all that many times before pandemic and all that. Let's do these online thingies. And then, well, obviously, there's limited things you can do in there. So they do stuff like Morse code and RT13 and whatever. So they just recently had another baby, and that is what their thank you note said. And that thank you note in Morse code basically is German for thank you very much for that gift, and it even did specify what the gift was. Hey, ChatGPT, what is that? We wish you a Merry Christmas. Which isn't even close to what it's, not a single word is accurate. That is a very fair point that I did not consider. Thank you, Angela. See, this is why I keep doing these talks. I always get some fresh perspectives. So, again, this is not about if ChatGPT can read Morse code. This is not about if Hugo has an Instagram account, which I'm 100% sure he has. It is about if you're starting to do more with AI, and all of us will, because let's face it, this is where everything is going. Just if 10 years ago somebody said we will never do anything in any cloud, most of these people, I don't see them anymore because either they really didn't do anything in some niche industries may be excluded, but most of us moved there in some way or another. And if it's just our Microsoft 365 accounts, do it in the right thing, rely on those business ethics, make sure you do that in the right way so that it actually drives improvement. And with that, since we are at time, thank you all very, very much. My contact details are up here. I'm here for a couple of more questions while I'm getting packed up. I'm in the hallway. I'm going to be here tonight. I'm going to be here tomorrow. Please, pretty please, make sure just for all the other sessions that you're attending today, tomorrow, yesterday, and the day before, please do provide some feedback. It helps all of us speakers to improve on these sessions. I hope that was at least a teeny tiny bit useful to you. And with that, thank you all very much.